Hi everyone, my name is Ken. Hi everyone, my name is Ken and I am a Filipinx transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. As you know by the title of this video, I stopped saying or using All Lives Matter in support of Black Lives Matter. So for you to understand how I got to that realization, I'd like to start with a short glimpse of my experience being transgender here in the Philippines. So when I came out as transgender, the people around me, including my family, thought that it was only a choice of a lifestyle, and that I didn't really know what I wanted because I've only been seeing transgender people transition physically. They've made their views clear that being transgender isn't even a gender identity, but only an expression of physical appearance and can change whenever my mood changes. So I still transitioned. I've known about my gender dysphoria. Although I didn't have professional help with my depression and anxiety, I did sought understanding and support from other transgender women and from personalities that I can see online. Doing research became a habit, and I didn't realize that I was already being religious about transitioning emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, while I embrace myself as a person with a transgender experience. Living as a transgender woman, I went to job interviews and got rejected because I wouldn't want to cut my hair. It became clear to me that it is a norm in the Philippine society. One hotel hired me one day and was impressed with me being transgender, but immediately canceled the job offer the next day for the same reason, that I am transgender. I worked as a call center agent in a company that accepts trans women as employees, but not as actual women. Other female employees in that company hated me for using the women's comfort rooms, while the company heads only advised that I use the men's room as a solution for that hate. So I quit that job. I enrolled for a master's degree at a prestigious university in my city, where I was constantly called by my instructors and professors as a sir, and with masculine pronouns he, him, and his. I was harassed by cisgender men, and one time it happened in a bar, and I asked help from the police. I didn't get any help, and I was only told that it was my fault for being at that bar. Throughout my journey of learning every single day about being transgender, about being a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, about being a feminist, my parents gave me privileges that I can easily overlook. They gave me a home or place to stay wherever I go, whenever I'm exhausted. They give me food to eat because they always worry that I might get hungry, and they actually don't like seeing me skinny. They give me money for me to buy essentials and also for emergency purposes. They buy me other things, and they sent me to a university where I started another master's degree. I am given respect by my professors in my current university, the same respect that they give my mama because of my mama's kindness to them, and I see that as another privilege for me. There were events that happened which shaped the acceptance of the transgender community around the globe and here in the Philippines, like the journey of Angela Ponce in the Miss Universe competition, Geraldine Roman being the first transgender congresswoman here in the Philippines. Gretchen Diaz was in handcuffs as she was arrested because she's transgender and she wanted to use the women's washroom. Then a Senate hearing for the SOGI, or Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity and Expression Equality Bill, happened after that washroom incident, but it was not passed into law because the senators here in the Philippines are transphobic and they feel like equal rights means less rights for others and for themselves. SOGI-based anti-discrimination ordinances were made in a few cities here in the Philippines. An executive order for diversity and inclusivity program was made by President Rodrigo Duterte for all government departments and government-owned organizations to follow, as well as for private companies. I was very excited for that to be implemented ASAP. Iya Mina became the first trans woman to win a Best Actress award in a lead role. Marriage equality was passed into law in some countries, but was declined by the Philippines Supreme Court. There is still no gender markers for transgender individuals here in the Philippines. Gina Rosero became the first transgender playmate for Playboy. Hashtag Proud in My Calvin was made by Calvin Klein in support of the LGBTQIA+ community. Also featuring Chalaman, a transgender queer, a deaf transgender queer. A Plan X-Men was done by the Philippine National Police to stereotype transgender women as men and as illegal sex workers. It was obviously wrong, and 2 police officers was fired for forcing a trans woman to cooperate. LGU personnel unjustly punishing LGBTQIA+ citizens who violated the community quarantine rules and regulations. LGBTQIA+ couples and families were not included in the government's amelioration programs because they were not seen as traditional families. So many milestones achieved, yet so much more injustice and hatred happening for the whole LGBTQIA+ community all around the world. And it is because we are constantly being questioned about our very existence. I watched a live webinar where Geraldine Roman said that the SOGI bill was considered not urgent during the pandemic, and it just gave me so much disappointment. Then the murder of George Floyd happened, and it was being recorded on camera for the whole world to see. I saw intense emotions. I had intense emotions. And I knew I had to speak up. I knew that silence is a weapon of the oppressors because I experienced being oppressed firsthand. And even though staying alive is a blessing, it is still a misfortune to continue experiencing bigotry. But before I spoke up, I listened and I let it sink in me. I read statements and comments from the Black community about the matter. Then I realized I had the same feeling. The feeling of fear. I fear that when I get arrested by the police, they'd put me to shame and or hurt me just because I am transgender. I fear that, and I doubt that if I need help, will I ever get help from them? and if they'd even be the reason of my death. I felt uncomfortable when people give me those looks of disgust, that when I walk down the streets, they'd throw something at me. May it be hurtful words or tangible things that will leave me bleeding. But I was amazed by how the younger generation and late millennials reacted. I was actually happy seeing them react that way and how aware they are of such bigotry, even when most of them don't have black or dark skin. I saw how many others my age and older than me reacted to it like they were very informed about the racism that is going on in the United States of America. And by informed, I mean being knowledgeable about the history of Black Americans. I thought that I also had enough knowledge for me to speak up. I knew that I had to speak up because I saw posts of Black transgender women and individuals being killed, harassed, discriminated for being transgender and Black. I know the history of Pride and how heroic Marsha P. Johnson is and other people of color to the LGBTQIA plus community. An equivalent to Andres Bonifacio? I think so. I'm following Black transgender people, especially transgender women, other transgender women of color, like Gina Rosero, Indy Moore, Lena Bloom, Laverne Cox, Janet Mock, Isis King, Black trans men, and many others from the Black community, and many white privileged people who uses their white privilege to destroy bigotry. So I did speak up, and this is when I used the hashtag All Lives Matter. I argued and spoke and was as proud as I can be because I know for myself that I was all out supporting the Black community and having a bias for Black transgender women who I think that I share the same experiences with, only I'm not Black. Then I voiced out my ignorant opinion on a Facebook post made by Trans Army, a Facebook page that promotes activism for equality and inclusivity. I was flooded with great dismay on the comment section, and I'm sure that they hate me now, if not all of them, most of them. I was offended because I thought, why would I receive such negative comments when I'm not the enemy? Racism is the enemy, and I'm not racist. But I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe we only have different opinions about All Lives Matter. So I made an apology and I was sincere because I know that I offended them. They wouldn't react that way if I wasn't being insulting. But I still stood firm with my ignorant views. I'll show you my actual comment because I get to do a screenshot of it before I got banned from the page and before the comment got deleted. So here it is. I'll read it to you. I understand that the level of urgency for the racism in the US is not rightfully addressed and the Black community is exhausted. I sincerely apologize to everyone I have offended in the comment section. I am an exhausted Filipino transgender woman who continues to hear that transgender rights, not only in my country, is not considered as urgent. Black Lives Matter is globally sensationalized right now, and I may feel jealous and selfish for wanting that same support for urgency for transgender rights. But it is because my transgender siblings all around the world experiences the same violence, if not more, especially for transgender people of color. I know my mistake for making this platform change their opinion on All Lives Matter, and I apologize for that. I will continue to be supportive of Black Lives Matter and Black Trans Lives Matter as an inclusive call for the situation in the US. I am using All Lives Matter in my own platform as a transgender woman in the Philippines to make a point in my country that urgency for the rights of the LGBTQIA+ community is as urgent, especially that Pride Month is near. Again, I am sorry if this felt more of a comparison than of equals urgency, and I do hope that we just continue to support each other. I know it's selfish, it's ignorant, it's from the words of a white privileged Asian. I then stopped being outspoken for a while. I started reflecting. I knew I was wrong, but what was wrong with it? What was wrong with my views? I was only saying what I believe was true. I was being true to myself. Pride Month is near, and transgender rights is just as urgent as any other fight there is. These people that I personally know should have the same enthusiasm when it comes to the passing of xoxo based laws. Because I'm also oppressed. I am a part of a minority group. But I need to know, am I racist? Do I have that internalized racism in me? I started listening again, or started reading and watching how Black people speak again. I was trying to understand them more deeply. I listened to those white privileged people who are actually anti-racist, and how am I not? Then I realized I'm privileged, and I used it to speak for my own views. I'm being discriminated every day for being transgender, but I never experienced being discriminated because of the color of my skin. I've never haven't been told that they didn't like the color of my skin. Well, there are some who said that my skin is too pale. I actually remember the younger me asking myself, what would I be if I wasn't white? Would people still tell me that I'm beautiful for having a dark skin? Would I be more discriminated if I have darker skin? Will I be that ugly negra trans woman? I actually loved the idea that having white skin means being more beautiful and being more clean. That it's always better looking because it's white. Then it's not to me. I am racist. So I went back reading my comments, and I was trying to learn what's wrong with All Lives Matter. Obviously, I didn't get the answer on my own comment, which was made out of selfishness and internalized racism. So then I looked through Instagram posts and was reading the comment sections. Many white people would say All Lives Matter. But obviously, there is no Black person who would say that all lives matter, because they would say that it is used by their oppressors. It was used to invalidate their fight, that white lives matter too, which always has. That using Black Lives Matter means that other lives don't matter when fighting against racism. So I was trying to support the Black community while using their oppressors' weapons. Wow. So using All Lives Matter is like saying that I'm not racist, but. So I immediately thought that I became one of those people who says that they accept and support the transgender community, but I I became one of those people who would give me that look of disgust when I don't look feminine enough for them, because they support the transgender community, or they support me as a trans woman if I look passable as a woman. Those people that look at me as if I look the way I look because I seek all the attention of men, because I just want to have sex with all of them. Those people who'd blame me if I get harassed, abused, or raped for being transgender because I deserve it. Those people who'd blame me if I get rejected by companies, establishments, government offices, and facilities just because I'm transgender, because I deserve it. Those people who would say that I'm a lady boy, a lady, but is actually a boy, that I am she-male, a woman, but will always be a man or male, is that not having the genital of a cisgender woman means that I am not a woman. I also became one of those people who appreciates what I do and admires how I look, but would say that mura jud kag babae, mas gwapa pa kas tinuod nga babae, may tag na tinuod na lang ka nga babae, mas gwapa pa ka namong mga babae, which means that I am not a woman. However I transition, I'd still not look feminine enough, or I'd look like a woman, but I will never be one. I also thought about slurs that are normalized in the Philippine languages, slurs that are used to ridicule, insult, invalidate the gender identity and experiences of trans women. Filipinx people would call trans women as bakla, bading, bayot, and other variations of those terms, which means a man who is sexually attracted to men, or simply a gay man. Many people who say that they support the transgender community would still use those words and phrases when referring to trans women. Most of those people were already aware and informed that to use those terms and phrases because it invalidates the gender identity and experiences of trans women, but they still refuse to do so. They still refuse to respect trans women the way they need to be respected. They haven't realized yet, or will they ever, that they have internalized transphobia. So I became that person who chooses to respect the Black community the way I want to respect them, but not the way they want to be respected. I also realized that I was trying to speak out very intelligently when in fact I didn't know a thing about my comments, and I thought that I already know so much. I also know now that I should be speaking the words of the Black community instead of speaking my words from my own views as a white privileged Asian. I learned that when I make comments, when I voice out my opinions, when I'm asked about the Black community's fight against racism, when I'm making discussions with my family or friends or anyone, I should be speaking from the words of the Black community and their families. I should be using their words. I am in no position to use my own views for them. I am only to amplify their voices for others to hear. I'll show you a comment that I used to somehow be anti-racist and help other people from being not racist to being anti-racist. I'll read it. I had the same mistake on using All Lives Matter as a support for everyone and for inclusivity. I've listened, spoke, reflected, and learned that having to stick with something that is used by the oppressors of the Black community is not support at all. I know how a transgender woman in the Philippines is oppressed because I am one, and so I know the feeling or seeing or hearing the people who intends on supporting me actually uses the words and opinions that were used to oppress me in the first place. Through that experience, I can give empathy and share an intersectional experience where I'll stand with what's true and will continue to learn in every step of the way. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. I actually made that comment when I saw Heidi Klum's post and she used hashtag All Lives Matter when she also has Black children. People were correcting her in different ways. So I thought that I'd share my experience to let people know that there are white privileged people like Heidi and myself who are open to be corrected, and we also want to learn in every step of the way. Obviously, some Black people and other anti-racist people liked the way I used my voice, and that honestly feels way better than being stuck in my small mind thinking that I know better than anyone. Fortunately, it takes more words for other people to realize that it is not right to use the oppressor's weapons to support the Black community's fight against racism. And it takes even more words for those people who continue to say that they are not racist, but actually they have internalized racism. This is why I made this video, for those people who still uses All Lives Matter. I know that I may be speaking from a different experience or privilege, but please continue to seek knowledge, seek learning from those who are actually taking actions. Ask yourselves, why do you continue to refuse to respect them the way they need to be respected? Do you have the same experiences as them? Are you Black? Are you a family member of a Black person or people? Are you privileged? Are you racist? Do you have that internalized racism in you? Black trans people experiences discrimination, prejudice, violence more than Black cisgender people. So ask yourselves, do you have the same experiences as them? Are you Black? Are you transgender? Do you have internalized transphobia? Are you transphobic? The interesting part about my realization is that it all happened in a day. If it happened to me in that short period of time, it can also happen to you, or not. And if you're still not convinced to support the Black community without using the weapons of their oppressors, and if you're still more focused on the violence of their protests, you know that you have the responsibility to seek information, to be educated by Black people, by people of color, Black trans people and their families before you actually speak up. You can also seek education and intersectional experiences from white privileged people who are taking actions more than you. Just know for yourselves that you are not the wisest on this planet, and there is always someone who is more knowledgeable than you. If you want to criticize, criticize well, telling the protesters that they are dumb or whatever your words of insults are because of the way that they protest is obviously not constructive, and it also shows that you have not experienced the injustice that they have experienced and are still experiencing. I suggest that you read Barack Obama's post that criticized violent protest while giving out correct information of solutions on what actions to take. There are also videos and proofs that show that the police are the ones who are causing the riots and who are just generally the one causing violence. I'll leave some Instagram accounts at the end of this video for you to go check and follow, because why would you not feed your platform with people who are anti-racist and are actually taking actions? Before I end my speech, I'll leave you with a simple explanation from Black people why not all lives matter. Not all lives matter because Black lives don't matter. Black lives don't matter because Black people are being killed helplessly, easily, unjustly. Black people are living in fear for too long. They experience injustice for too long. Black people shouldn't fear for their lives because of the color of their skin. They are sick. Racist people should fear for their lives because they are racist. So be anti-racist. Being not racist is not enough. You can do it. I know you can.